seems fair to me. Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it. Unacceptable.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Donnybrook. Great to have you with us, and thanks to our friends at the Gatesworth, celebrating 30 great years for supporting us week in and week out. Let's meet the panelists assembled for this edition of Donnybrook, starting with the media veteran herself, Wendy Wiese, along with Bill McClellan from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and the founder of the Riverfront Times and Donnybrook as well, Ray Hartmann. And from STLmag.com and the St. Louis American, Alvin Reid, with whom we will begin this program. $175 million in repairs to our convention center. That was announced yesterday by city and county officials. Looks like the mayor's for it, so is the county executive. And of course, this would, I guess, repair and replace parts of the convention center so that St. Louis can be more attractive to conventioneers around the country. It's a tough game because there's a lot of competition, Alvin. Do you think we should be spending $175 million taxpayer dollars on conventions?
Well, a couple of things. One, I've been turned into by the city, into like Pavlov's dog, and you ring the bell, and I'm expecting something other than good stuff to follow up on it. Okay, I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall. Who's getting what? All right, the city was buying these properties, and like the Post story said, it's like, oh, there were inclinations that this was going to happen because these properties were bought and all that. Well, why didn't you tell us, okay? When the Rams were leaving, skipping town, okay? Why at that point were you saying like, hey, we got a plan. We're going to use these, this bond and do this and improve or whatever. I'm just wary. I think there's something else coming. Now, as for the plan itself, I will say this. Okay, it looks good on paper, but the reasons that I think we're not getting these conventions and things are not going well, not tourism, but just convention-wise for St. Louis, I don't think it has anything to do with that facility. I think maybe we are addressing the wrong problem.
Well,
maybe.
I agree with you about that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I agree with you that that's not the source of our problems. We absolutely should do this. And good for the fact that the city and county are doing it together. Full disclosure, my pal Andy Leonard's the president of CVC, what was called CVC, Explore St. Louis. They did a good job bringing people together. You got to remember something. You have to have, convention business matters, okay, and tourism matters. And we can wring our hands about all the problems, and I agree, that's not, the convention center itself is not the only thing. But we have been just completely passed by since the last time, because of our obsession with the Rams and having them around, frankly, for so long and having them tied up to the convention center, we've done nothing to that building for convention purposes in a quarter of a century. And while we haven't, Nashville and Kansas City and Columbus and all these real competitors have got brand new convention expansions, and we can't compete with them.
Well, and I think it goes back to the conversation that we were having last week at Donny Bash. We have to stop. I know that we're all sort of professional cynics because after years and years of conditioning here. But I think the fact that you could literally blow a cannon down some of these streets in downtown St. Louis is proof that we have to start taking some of this stuff seriously. I think $175 million for money that is already it's already there, or it's already accounted for. I think it's something we have to do, especially when business is down 30% from year to year.
And it is. Now, what if Alvin's right? What if it's not, the Ferguson effect or whatever? What if it's crime? What if we're throwing good money after bad? What if conventions aren't coming here because we have so much crime? If we build new facilities and don't address the crime issue, will we attract conventioneers?
Well, Charlie, sure we have to address the crime issue, as you say. I wish I knew exactly how to address it, but Ray is right that we need to put money in the convention. And Alvin, we finally get Stenger and Cruzen to agree on something, and there is
Well,
Reid standing
Reid
opposed
standing
to
in
it.
You know why Cruzen and Reid, or not Cruzen and Reid, Cruzen and Stenger
That'd be
are
a
supported
ticket.
by unions, and let's face it, this will be a wonderful
that's
job
terrible.
opportunity
That's a nice
for the
thing.
unions.
That's a nice
oh,
thing.
God,
But hang on.
let's not have jobs. No, we
Well,
don't
no,
want.
you don't
we
want to
want
make
convention business jobs.
If you've got
You know what we wanna
$175
do?
million, why don't we just have them dig holes in the ground if we're paying them $20 an hour? Why don't we do something that works? Let me just say this. Let me say this. McCormick Place in Chicago expanded. Guess what? The number of conventions there went down, according to Haywood Sanders, the #1 convention expert in the country. Same happened in Atlanta. We built a convention center, and then we built a hotel that had to be subsidized, and it went into receivership after we were told, if you build this hotel, the conventioners will
We
come.
made a lot of mistakes,
Charlie,
but that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
mean we give up on convention.
And you're comparing us. You're saying that we should judge ourselves or hold ourselves in the same, esteemed company as a place like Chicago and Atlanta. They're okay. Trust me, they're okay. We are not okay right now. We can't compare ourselves to Chicago, even though Chicago, as you said, their bookings went down. We have to do something.
It's an arms race. How do you win? And what we do, we'll expand. Are you telling me that Indianapolis and Nashville then won't expand?
Wait, it's not a
They
question. Wait,
probably
Charlie, it's a
already
question.
have.
Either you have suitable convention facilities or not. It's not a question
not.
of.
Yeah.
No,
Here's
and
the
you think
deal.
we should just give up on convention business
Well, what I'm
and have
saying-
a pity party
okay,
about crime?
what's
we
happened-
don't even have a good room to have the pity party in.
What's happened since, that's a good one. What happened since we built all this convention center? Jobs and residents in the city of
You've
St. Louis
got-
have gone down.
We can't
Conventions have
give-
gone down.
St. Louis can't give up on itself, and conventions
And
are
I'm not
a
gonna,
big
listen,
part
I'm
of
not
it.
arguing with myself here, but I judge every issue separately. Because on the Metro thing, I think you need to expand that regardless of what's going on. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this, with the convention center. And Wendy's right about the $175 million is not. That's not knocking me over, because we mysteriously came up with $750 million to build a stadium. Where that was coming from, who knows?
All right.
But wait a minute. Show me the real plan. Who's involved? Who's getting what?
Okay.
Because as soon as we find out that,
our
that's when
of
this
course.
is.
Our
Okay.
airport is dated. Our convention center is dated. We're already underway with something controversial on the airport.
Okay,
But
let's
okay,
move on.
okay,
We're
okay,
out of
okay.
time. We're out of time. We're out of
Okay.
time. And I know you were on the Tourism Commission 40 years ago. I remember that.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I've
I know.
already
You were gonna
forgotten
say that.
No, I was going to say
Yeah.
we apologies to those who get jobs. We don't want that. to happen.
Unless
worked at
Donald
McCormick
Trump.
Place.
Donald Trump
Did you really?
did his job
When
report
I
today.
got out of the service, I was a security guard at McCormick
Thank
Place.
you. That's
Well, good
So
for
I'm
you. He's
kind of
got
an
experience.
expert on this. I
Okay,
know what
come
I'm
on,
talking
guys. We
about.
got to move along. We got a lot of topics in precious little time. Wendy Wiese, Jason Kander, who was and is a rising star in American politics. He came very close to beating Roy Blunt in 2016 in a state where Donald Trump won by 19 points over Hillary Clinton. He's a best-selling author. Every time I pick up the Washington Post or the New York Times, he's quoted. He's been on the national talk shows. He started a 501c3 that has had a dramatic membership as well as lots of funding. So he was running for mayor of Kansas City. And then he did something that I've never seen in American politics. He pulled out, he said, because for the last 10 years, he's been suffering from mental illness, PTSD from his days in Afghanistan, and he's been suicidal. Now, we wish him the best. Do you think he can make a comeback someday after having admitted these issues to America?
I think in 1972, I think the kind of attitude that cost Tom Eagleton, at least that vice presidential nomination for McGovern, I think that the climate has changed so dramatically from that moment, and so many families are impacted by mental illness. I don't think it's going to hurt him at all. I don't think it's going to hurt him at all. If he wants to resume politics, his political career after treatment, I think people will appreciate Mr. Kander's candor, and I think he will be just fine.
I agree, and I think it took a lot of courage to do it. He could have come up with some other reason for not doing it, and good for him that he had that. I think it will send a very important message. Hypothetically, who knows what the future holds for him politically, but I think it took a lot of courage to do it, and I think it was a very good for him. That he did.
I think it's something that should not hurt him, and and to most of us it won't. But it'll be used against him, of course. I mean, Kerry's service was used against him when he ran for president. President Trump has mocked the late John McCain for being captured. I mean, people will use anything against you, but I don't think overall people will hold this against Jason Kander.
You know, he wasn't, I think, just a guy running for mayor in Kansas City. He was going to be the mayor of Kansas City. Because imagine if you could pick Jason Kander up and put him in the race in St. Louis, where you had all kind of different candidates running, several of them African American. He was going to win. So he honestly, you know, was in, 4 weeks basically from being the mayor of Kansas City, and he set that aside because he said, like, maybe I can't do this job. So no, I think it was an honorable thing to do. I think it was a brave thing to do. Whether or not it costs him in the future remains to be seen.
I think we're much. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
No, I'm just going to say, like, in this day and age, I'm 95% in agreement with you. You know, that in this day and age we get moved on, but man, there's part of me that by the time he decides to run again, if it's 4 years from now, if it's 8 years from now, I think we might still be in this quagmire. If it's 16 years from now or 12,
okay. I think anybody who would do something like that does so at their own peril, because everybody knows that the brain is an organ, and you're not going to make fun of anybody who is suffering from any other kind of disease. I mean, not in 2018, you're not.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. There's a major race for the U.S. Senate, Ray, that's in Missouri, as everyone knows. Incumbent Claire McCaskill up against the challenger, who is the Attorney General, Josh Hawley, right? So Claire McCaskill, a couple of things this week. She used some words by Senator Pat Roberts of Kansas that were laudatory. I mean, he was praising her for being really bipartisan, and she used those comments in a campaign ad, and he said, hey, I made those comments ancient history a long time ago when I thought you were bipartisan, and no longer. So my question would be, should she, in the spirit of, what's the word, Senate bonhomie or whatever, take those words out of her ad?
Of course not. I mean, he said it, you know, and they're true, by the way. If by either, one of the things that's, with all our blue silo, red silo stuff, the one thing that's empirical, if you go to Vote Smart or whatever, the ratings, whether you measure them from liberal side or conservative side, you're going to get the same answer because, and Claire has consistently been one of the 5 or 6 least liberal or most conservative, depending on what you want to call it, senators out of like 49 Democrats. And it's just her voting record. So the idea that, you know, he's going to want to, obviously, if the Republicans want to run an ad with him in it, decrying her, that's fine. But she has every right to use it, and she is a centrist.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I agree with Ray. If I were the Republicans, I'd run an ad with Roberts recanting and saying she used to be. But once you've said something, if somebody said, well, Charlie said this, it's hard for you to say, well, I know I said it, but you can't repeat it. You know, I don't get
Especially
that.
in a political ad,
What was most stunning to me, at least it appears, because I have not seen the ad, that she is actually photographed or in a photo with President Trump.
Welcome to Missouri.
I mean, that just stunned me.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is pretty stunning.
That's really stunning.
Okay,
when you
now-
look at her base and how they feel about him, it's like,
Well, she's not showing it to certain groups, I'm sure. It's in certain areas,
Wait,
not
you
in
show
St.
it
Louis.
to everybody, because like I said,
Yeah.
the woman is smart. That's why she's been a 2-term senator. Look, I'm trying to win. Everybody get on board with winning, and let's quit sniping each other. Kit Bond, the St. Louis American, popped up at a Kit Bond ad or two back in the day, and people said like, "How dare you all?" And it's like, "Hey, we said it. I mean, right?
Yeah, what
right.
are you gonna do?
It was in the
Exactly.
paper.
Politics
right.
makes strange bedfellows.
Yeah, exactly.
Kid Bond was a fine governor, by the way.
Did you work for him ever?
I
bet
don't
you
know.
did.
I don't
yeah.
remember that, but I remember he was a very
How
good
about
governor.
this,
First
Ray?
time.
As you know, dark money is something that Senator McCaskill has decried. What's dark money? That's when people give money to a 501c4 and they're anonymous. They don't get a tax donation, but the 501c4 can take part in politics and nobody knows who funded it. She's so against it, she says that's the reason why she's not going to support Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. That's what she said. And of course, Eric Greitens, when he used dark money, everyone attacked him in his 501c4, I think it was called A New Missouri. But now, thanks to the reporting of the Post-Dispatch, turns out that she's been praising a group that's been registering African Americans to vote that is funded by dark money. Does she have a little bit of a problem here?
No. And I think that
No, not for you. Of course not.
Well, I don't, and I think it's interesting. If you're in favor of campaign finance for reform limits, say, and you don't think people should give over a certain limit, doesn't mean you have to unilaterally disarm when until the laws are changed that you want to improve upon. So I don't think it's a big deal, and it's not even for her directly. She just prays in a group. I don't think it's a big deal at all.
I think that whole the perceived ends justify the controversial means. I think that is why we're in the position that we're in this country right now. You know, it's okay if it's your guy doing this, but it's not okay if it's my guy doing this. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're jumping into silos as soon as we leave our place of employment.
I wish it, if maybe you could say like, well, I wish they didn't have to take this money, but for what they're doing, they have to take that money. It's not the same as like I'm taking money and I'm personally running for office, and then I say I hate dark money, but I'm taking it. I think that's true hypocrisy. I'm not, what can you say? I mean, and this is kind of like out there, but like people in the mafia gave money to churches, and like I don't want you to be in the mafia, but at the same time, I'm not going to go to the church and say like, hey, you get that money back.
Well, it was for voter.
Right.
But here's the
for
thing.
voter registration.
Hey, you're outraged when Eric Greitens did it, and now when you find out the groups like
wait a minute.
unions and the ACLU,
Wait a minute, Charlie.
the ACLU has a 501c4 and does the exact same thing.
Charlie,
and
I have never, ever said I was outraged.
This guy.
Okay.
This guy.
But this whole dark
the
money
representative
thing,
from the left,
I
the
did
far
not.
left.
First of all, I did not agree with the ACLU being as involved as it was, frankly, in that race. But although I agree
You're
with.
happy they did, yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I did not. I think you could make an argument on that. I don't think the voter registration is the same as misusing and apparently violating the laws to use your old charity to fund your campaign.
Well, that was a mission continues, and then we're talking about a new Missouri also.
It is a different set of issues. I agree with Wendy. People look at it. I agree with Wendy that people look at it through their prism, but there are different degrees.
I want to go to another one of our founders, Ray. He's Bill McClellan, who used to work at McCormick Place in Chicago.
I did.
I don't know if they had health insurance there.
I hope that's in his autobiography.
See, Josh Hawley has been in favor of dismantling Obamacare, which says that you can get insurance even if you have pre-existing conditions. Claire McCaskill has pointed out that he has had that point of view, but he says, no, I'm not for getting rid of pre-existing conditions. I just want to get rid of Obamacare and start from scratch. Do you think he's got a point here?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing about Josh Hawley is you don't know whether he's for the insurance companies or for the consumers. He was running for Attorney General because he didn't like people use it as stepping stones. He was Danforth's guy, and now he's Trump's guy. I mean, people in this election, I think, are either voting for Claire McCaskill or against Claire McCaskill. I don't think anybody's for Josh Hawley. And so whether or not Josh Hawley really is in favor of the insurance companies or in favor of making them pay for pre-existing conditions, it doesn't really matter.
That's a good point, but you don't get to be for dismantling Obamacare or Affordable Care Act and for I'm for the thing that's good in it because it's what abolished the pre-existing condition as a tool of the insurance companies who are very much involved.
Okay. Well, theoretically, Ray, you could abolish Obamacare and then come up with something forcing them to do it. I'm not saying you would. I have no idea.
Why did it never happen?
That's exactly
before
right.
Obamacare?
You know what he's doing? He is politically adept enough to see the beauty and the merits of kicking the can down the road, and that's exactly what he's doing. Just like the Democrats kicked the can down the road when they were asked whether or not they had read the 2,000-page Affordable Care Act, and they said no, we haven't, but we know it's still a good. Yeah.
As Martin Dugan and I shared this, that our fathers were both pressmen, and my father, who was a pressman, for years we went to McCormick Place. Okay.
You probably saw me there.
I probably saw you, maybe a little. You may have been down there.
Did you carry a gun and a badge?
No, I didn't have a gun, and mostly I guarded a hallway that nobody used.
Right. But this is like 72, 73, so you might have been guarding us.
71, 72 that I was.
How about that? Okay, so but anyway, when you look at where we are as far as Hawley is concerned and the pre-existing conditions, his name is on that lawsuit. And you can just hold it up and say like, dude, this is you.
But he doesn't deny it, and he doesn't
I know,
regret it.
but
He doesn't
you
deny it or regret it.
I agree, but that's one that's like, no, before you can dance back on that, you signed off on this.
But
so.
you know what?
And let's see
It
the
gets more
plan he
complicated
has.
than just having pre-existing conditions, because we did have that. I mean, it's wonderful. It sounds good. Hey, you can get insurance even if you have a serious illness, right? But then what happened? Like a year ago, Anthem announced it's pulling out of Missouri,
but
and
that's
people
not-
were paying their deductibles were $12,000, saying, "What kind of
understand
insurance
that.
is
Barack
this?"
I
Obama's one of
understand
his
that, but-
main legacies is he was after everybody talked the talk, his presidency, we, for the first time, insurance companies and
And there is a healthcare
are
system
not able
other
to
than-
deny coverage because of pre-existing conditions, and you can't take that away
See,
from Barack Obama.
This is Josh Hawley, the beauty of Josh Hawley. We start trying to talk about him, but there's really hard to define. So the next thing you know, we're
That's
talking
true.
about President Obama.
But we all talking about protecting one of Martin Dugan's legacies. He always was proud of us. In World War II, he said he protected Lake Michigan from the Japanese. He was very proud of that. So we
All
have
right.
a lot of Chicago. Right?
Bill McClellan in Ladue, a soccer player who's a junior, was not good enough apparently to play for the varsity, but good enough last year to play for junior varsity, and his parents have said this kid should be playing junior varsity, just like junior girls in the Ladue district can play JV there. And the district said, no, he's too old, and we want that to be a developmental team for the future. So the parents sued on age discrimination rules. And how do you feel? I mean, you'd like this kid to be playing soccer after school, wouldn't you?
Sure, of course I would. And I'm a longtime soccer dad, and I feel very bad for this young man who didn't make the varsity. But the lawsuit's a bad idea on a couple fronts, and not just we have too many lawsuits, but in soccer, they hardly ever substitute. Your child either starts or he or she hardly ever plays. And so if this young man were put on the team, first of all, the other kids would, think he was only on the team because of the lawsuit. But if he started, the kids would think, he's starting because of the lawsuit. And it would just be harder. I think overall, it would be harder on him if he were put on the team than if he just didn't make the team and had a big disappointment.
A couple of things, and there's all kind of angles to the story, because I agree with you, this whole lawsuit because your kid got cut or whatever. All right, I know this for a fact. Parents in schools that are involved in the school district, those that support the school district financially, they strong arm the athletic departments to make sure their kids get on the team. And that happens in public school, that happens in private school. It doesn't necessarily mean they go to the lawsuit angle, but there's pressure out there coming from a lot of different ways. Second, in our mind, I don't know anything about this kid, where he's from, who his parents are, other than their attorneys. We get this mental picture that it's the poor, this pitiful kid that couldn't make the team. And we don't know that. This might be a flamboyant kid that drives a Corvette that's got, a girl on each arm and said like, sue to get me on the team, mommy and daddy. Now, it may not be that. I don't know. But just keep in mind that mental picture you get of this kid. It may not be what you think
Right. Well,
it is.
I don't think it's a kid with a girl on each arm. Alvin.
okay.
When I saw
That was me.
That was you, obviously. But when I saw the story on social media, I was like everybody else. I thought, oh, helicopter parents, everybody gets a prize, everybody gets an award. And then I thought that they're suing because of parity. If you've got one set of rules for the girls and a different set of rules for the boys, nobody would be laughing if the parents were concerned about this type of issue if they were the parents of girls and they saw a different set of rules for the boys.
Good
so
point.
I'm totally fine.
And
with
just
I agree with Wendy. And I did this sort of the same thing where I first saw the headline, I thought, well, this is ridiculous. And then reading the story, I don't know, maybe from being a parent, but it was just, at the end of the day, it's parents sticking up for their kids. And it's kind of hard to
Well,
not.
and it's illegal. It's
and
right there.
I think the lawsuit will play itself out. We'll see. And I would not know. I'm with you that. But it is. I'm not gonna.
Right, but
I just-
which would be harder on
Well, we'll see.
your child? I mean, that's what I would be thinking.
I understand what you're saying.
And I understand that the parents are sticking up for their child, but I think in this instance, it was a bridge
Well,
too
look,
far.
we're talking about the United States of America didn't even make the World Cup. Now, is Ledoux churning out like Messi's and Ronaldo's over there?
Let's
No.
hope so.
But you're going to say like, oh, no, our developmental program won't have a junior playing in it? Get serious, man.
you know
Get
what
that guy a jersey and let him practice.
I kind of agree. In fact, I think a district with Ledoux's resources should have a policy like Clayton's, where I had a kid in the Clayton schools, and I know it's cumbersome at time when you've got a no-cut policy, especially if you're playing like water polo and there's a lot of kids in the pool and there's no room. But overall, I like the theory that you shouldn't cut a kid if the kid wants to show up for practice and work his tail off. Now, the kid may be sitting on the bench, that's fine, and that's all part of the
But
deal.
he or she knows that. They want to participate, and there's nothing wrong with that.
You know, there was a sports editor from the Cleveland Plain Dealer named Hal Leibovitz. He worked there for 60 years, and every August he published a column and said, hey, football coaches, don't cut the boy. Now, if it was written today, it'd be don't cut the boy or girl. I like that.
And I'll tell you what, I was a pretty good basketball player when I was a kid, and I was definitely the victim of height discrimination. I was when they cut me.
Wait, I was a decent basketball player, but when I was in
Height
eighth grade, I took my final basketball uniform off because I said, like, I know what's happening next year.
All right. Hey, we'll relive sports memories maybe on your turn. But first, let's go to the old mailbag. I have no objection to an AstroTurf lawn in McKinley Heights. There's at least one home in Dutchtown that has a green concrete lawn. That from Richard Egenreither of St. Louis. And we heard from Jason Newlander of St. Chuck 2 weeks in a row, some of the members of the roundtable decided to bash St. Charles. What gives? Sorry, but we'll never, ever pay for the zoo or Metrolink. You can write us care of KETC 3655 Olive Street 63108. Don't forget those emails, letters at ketc.org, and those tweets. Hashtag Donnybrook STL, because our all-star team of Alvin, Reid, and Bill McClellan will be reading those on Your Turn in just a matter of moments. By the way, starting this week, Your Turn will be seen online, just like the first half hour. So how about that? Don't go away. Enjoy Your Turn, and thanks for joining us.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Live and in color. Bill McClellan, Alvin Reid, on Your Turn. A couple of things, Bill. You know, we were going through the Jason Kander story, and, you know, between shows we go out and we talk, and people thought who had watched the show and then were out, were kind of saying that we missed the point on the Jason Kander story in that we should have delivered it farther from politics, but more into mental health and what the appropriate thing to do was. And we were saying, like, well, you know, we understand that, but if we strayed beyond the mental health aspect, we understand. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time you and I strayed from
Oh, wow. Yeah,
the
exactly.
path. But no, and of course, and it's a good thing that Jason Kander has sought help. And, you know, the hope is that a lot of people who really could use some help but have held back from it because of the feeling of shame and not wanting to admit mental problems, that Jason Kander will be an inspiration to those people.
Okay. Now, if you talk about he could have been mayor of Kansas City, and he ran for Senate, and there are those who say, like, well, is it a good thing that he's not the senator, or are you saying that, well, maybe he could have dealt with this even if elected, if he had, ran and won, because he came close in a state that was definitely red, but he was the one blue candidate that almost won.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was wondering myself, what if he were in the Senate now having kind of a hard time and a little bit of a breakdown? I think that mental illness can be treated these days. Alvin, there's medications that make a person fine. So I think that he would have been fine. But it's
all right.
It's
Future,
an interesting thing.
will Jason Kander run for another office?
Well, I don't know. I suspect it will. I think once you get the bite. And we should say that we're having some slight technological problem that they tell us is fixed. And if you want to call in now, your call would get through. But at the moment, it's Alvin and I.
Hopefully I wasn't just verbiating that out. Like,
No.
right.
You were doing good, Alvin. It's me that was getting concerned.
All right, okay.
All right. Okay, all right. I think things are getting back to normal.
And that would be Sherry in Fletcher.
Oh, good.
Hi, Sherry.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, Sherry.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling.
I'm calling about this Josh Hawley lawsuit.
Yes.
I have a copy of the lawsuit itself, and in it, it states that the ACA requires health insurance companies to accept all applicants and prohibits insurance companies from charging individuals higher premiums because of their health. And they're asking that the ACA be declared unconstitutional either in part or in whole. Now, the pre-existing conditions is what they're making a big deal out of. And so what is the in part? They would be perfectly happy if just the pre-existing conditions were considered unconstitutional. I think Josh Hawley is being a hypocrite, and I think we'd be very foolish to send him to the Senate.
Okay. Hey, whenever one of us doesn't know where someplace is, we ask the caller. So where is Fletcher, Sherry?
Fletcher is in southwest Jefferson County, about halfway between DeSoto and Richwoods.
Okay, and if I come to Fletcher, where should I go to eat?
Oh, my house. There's
Oh,
Well,
come to my house.
all right.
I think we'd all have a good discussion on your porch, Sherry, because I have a lot of questions about Josh Hawley myself. Is he fooling Danforth or is he fooling the people? Because Danforth, said Trump was despicable, and all of a sudden he gets Hawley the nomination, and Hawley is hugging Trump. So who knows?
There we go.
I think Hawley's dangerous.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is I don't know.
I have a call.
No, right.
Hi, Lorna, it's your dad.
Right. I love it.
Yes, I was calling you just because we were having a problem here.
I love this. This is his daughter.
Problem, so I was going to call you and say, call, but we're okay now. So thank you. I'm with Alvin. We're on your turn.
Right.
Okay. Alvin, Lorna says hi.
Hi, Lorna.
Okay.
Hey, you got to look.
Thanks, Lorna.
This is his
Hi.
daughter. Right. She's
Right,
right.
I'm sorry. When we were having the technological problems, I thought, well, maybe I'll get my daughter to call.
Right.
So I called her, and she returned my call.
There we go. That's love. Father, daughter. I got two daughters. I understand it. We got tweets, Bill.
Oh, let's go to the tweets, Alvin.
JDR 1949. If Jason Kander ever runs against a Republican, I guarantee his depression and PTSD will be used against him, period.
All right, Sister Sarah, 23. It isn't a one-issue problem. We have to improve the convention center, decrease crime, and improve our city. Well, absolutely, Sister
Absolutely.
Sarah.
At Liz Will, I think Claire should use a clip of Bill saying, I don't think anybody's for Josh Hawley in her next ad.
Holy Star 77. Democrats should reject taking dark money. In this corrupt finance system, they're playing to lose because Republicans will outraise them in dark money. The winning strategy is running a grassroots, small dollar donor campaign.
All right.
Thank you, Holy Star.
And novice Christian, I miss the days when parents respected the decision of the coaches and teachers and let their children learn from all experiences and learn to respect decisions made instead of fighting them. Hashtag Donnybrook STL. Hit us with a tweet. As we go to Betty Shrewsbury. Hi, Betty.
Yes, good evening. I was wondering, is it valid to equate dark money with money laundering? Thank you.
Not really, because money laundering is illegal and dark money is not illegal. So the two are not the same. Now, being an anonymous donor and being I give money to some place, then they don't have to expose who I am. I do have a little problem with that, but that's the rules we play under. So, you know, when you're trying to win a game, you try to win it under the rules being played.
Right. And money laundering is where you generally take money that you've earned illegally and make it appear legal, you know, own a second business or a business or something where you can push the money through.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just a little aside.
And a little over my head. I think I know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Now, a little aside here. There's a National Football League player who is suspended indefinitely because he pleaded guilty to a white-collar crime, some little money shenanigans, and he pleaded guilty. He's suspended indefinitely. There are guys that the league determined violated their abuse policy, and they're suspended for 6 games and get right back on out there. So that's the world we live in right now. Thank you, Betty.
Okay, thank you, Betty. And we're going to go to Paul from South County.
Hi, Paul.
Hi. I'd like to say that
Go right ahead. You're on.
hello.
Hi,
Yeah,
go
you're on,
ahead.
Paul.
All right. I'd like to say about the convention center.
Yes, sir.
Expansion.
Go right ahead.
You have to. I'm fine with them expanding it, but you have to get rid of the crime in this city. Nobody will come there if you don't get rid of the crime in this city.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Now, you can't say nobody will come there because I come here all the time. So, but I understand what you're saying, that resonates with people to the point that they really don't want to do things here. So I do understand that.
Sure, exactly right. And hopefully with more lively downtown, there'll be more money and we can hire more policemen and work on the crime. We certainly need to get that fixed. How? I'm not sure.
There we
Linda,
go.
well, why don't I let you do this one?
Oh, well, Kirkwood. Hi, Linda in Kirkwood. How are you?
I am fine. Hope y'all are doing fine too.
We're doing great.
I just wanted to throw in my couple cents about the Hawley lawsuit as I understand things.
All right.
I have heard that he sort of jumped on the bandwagon. I've heard 12 states. I've heard 18 states, all with the Obamacare repeal and so forth. A friend of mine was at McCaskill get-together a week or so ago, and there were questions about that, just for clarification. Now, it's from McCaskill, so who knows? But as she was clarifying what was going on with the ads with the pre-existing and not having pre-existing, is the lawsuit as it stands right now is filed, and it includes getting rid of pre-existing conditions. At one point, they tried to amend the suit to subdivide those 2 categories, but it was denied, or is it of this moment. So
Okay.
I would say, based on what the ads are saying, I don't understand how he can put that on the air if it's fake, but my understanding is they weren't able to subdivide those 2 issues, so he is lying.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
and
Linda.
I would understand that, okay, something happened and I sued you and the owner and this, and at some point look, we're progressing, we're in the system. A judge would say like, no, you can't throw somebody out. The other attorney, right, the defense would have to come to me and say like, we want this thrown out. You can't come to me at this point and say like, oh, no, I want to change it. That, legal system doesn't work like that. So I definitely understand that.
Okay, well, I'll let you do Ted
Back
too.
to back. Ted in Kirkwood. Hi, Ted.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Doing great.
Good. I wanted to comment on the Josh Hawley thing also, and just comment on the fact that this is another of the Republicans saying we want to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with something better. They've had 8 years to do that, and they haven't even come close to having anything that's better. They don't have anything. They just keep saying, let's get rid of that, and then we'll start talking about what we're going to put together. And I guess Josh Hawley wants to have a law that will just eliminate the pre-existing condition exemptions. Well, part of the thing that makes the Affordable Care Act work is having people required to have insurance. If we just had an exception that said you can't have pre-existing condition exclusions, then our premiums would be way higher than they are because the insurance companies just would have to price that in there.
Right. Nobody would have insurance until they got sick.
Right.
If there wasn't a mandate. You're right. And it's hard to take Josh Hawley and some of the Republicans too seriously when they're taking money from the insurance companies and then saying that actually they're going to come up with a system better for us. You think, well, that's hard to imagine.
It's hard to imagine, right?
I mean, I don't think the insurance companies understand that if they're giving you money. But Ted, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And let's go to Diane from Creve Coeur.
Hi, Diane.
Good evening, Bill and Alvin. Two nice guys who won't get hostile when I say something.
No, we will not.
Right.
We will not.
Right.
Okay. Well, being our population is getting a lot older, I just wanted to mention in the newspaper, it tells what was going on, who voted what in Congress. And right now, the Republicans have voted to change Medicare gradually to a voucher system. Clay was the only one who voted no against it. And also changing Social Security and Medicare. And right now, all the Republicans are for it. And actually, we pay for their health insurance, but they're trying to take away ours. I would think it would be really great if you guys could maybe talk about it sometime. Thank you so much.
Well, there's no need to be hostile about that, Diane. You're talking to half of us are on Medicare. So
I'm close.
Right.
Smidgen.
I'm on Medicare, and it's a nice system. It works. You got a little supplemental, and I've become a big believer in it. And if I were Alvin's age, I wouldn't want him to change it.
Oh, no. And my whole thing is like, you only know what fury is. If you came to me at any point and said, like, Alvin, you're not getting the money back that you put into it. Well, now we're going scorched earth. You're quite right in that the things that work in America, Social Security, Medicare, they've worked. And you can say we don't have the money, we don't have this, we don't blah, 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 blah. Wait a minute. The reason we're America is because we have these things. Mm-hmm. And to go anywhere stray from that, all of a sudden, we're not that country anymore. Right. So, Diane, trust me, Republicans, Democrats that are somewhat in the middle will fight for that. And I pray that you don't have to worry about it, but I really am convinced that you don't have to worry about it.
And it isn't like we're the only country that gives free medical care to older people.
Right.
Most of the developed countries have a national health system for everybody.
Right.
So, Diane, thank you very much.
There you go.
We're going to go to Claudia in Jamestown.
Hi, Claudia.
Hi there. I'm calling because I'm
so interested in this new convention center that's going up. Instead of building convention centers, we need something to draw the conventions to St. Louis. We have some wonderful history, but one of the things that would be nice would be something like a Disneyland or something such. I was reading the St. Louis Sage page in the August St. Louis magazine, and I found it curious that Walt Disney had once started, or not started, but was once negotiating to build a entertainment area on the riverfront.
It was Disney World.
So that would be, yes. And it would be interesting to have something like that to draw more people to make their conventions be in St. Louis.
Well, I agree with you in that I'm a big element guy. And I know that people say like, Alvin, it's not gambling and it's not this, but I said like, well, now wait a minute. Right now, the thing that's out there that has just been legalized, okay? All right, now you got Colorado and these other states on marijuana, but this gambling thing, okay? If you came to people and said like, all right, if we could clear however many acres down by the riverfront and really build something nice and make this the Midwest kind of, mecca of sports gambling, why don't we do it? Why don't we play big instead of playing small? $175 million for the convention center. My problem is, what's the plan and who it's going to? But $175 million is really not that much money. Now, I don't have $175 right now, so that's very easy for me to say. But I hear you, Claudia. Let's do that. Let's create a reason for people to come here big time, and I think you're on the right track.
Right. I thought of like maybe some kind of historic reenactments of forts or something, Alvin. Trying to think of something that would make people want to stay downtown and look around. A Disneyland would be nice, but I think we're going to have to live with Six Flags.
Me too.
Right.
But we can go another direction, and you're on the right track, Claudia.
Yes, we need some kind of an attraction. Claudia,
right.
Thank you very much. And let's go to Mike from South County.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Love the show, by the way.
Thank you.
My comment is in regard to health care, regarding the pre-existing conditions. And I'm coming from the corner of an independent contractor where I have to pay for my own health care. Within the past year, basically, the pool of options you had was fairly significant, and now it's down to 2 healthcare providers. What are you guys? What's your take on that, as far as moving forward?
Well,
as far as go ahead, please.
If any individual, like when it was coming up, and any individual entity decides we're out of this game anymore, that plays against you. And 2 is not enough because they can look at each other and say like, starting prices here and we can go here, and not like this the other way if you have 6 or 7. But at the same time, and Ray made this point, and I believe in it too, the only reason that we're having any discussion about health care for people is because President Obama created what is called Obamacare. This discussion would not even be had. We wouldn't be talking about rates or where to go or how many providers. There would be no discussion. So I know what's going on now is bad, but there will never be a time where there is not a healthcare entity for people that don't work and have like a healthcare benefits provided through their job. America moved forward with Obamacare, and hopefully Americans will say like, look, regardless of what we felt about Obamacare, there should be that option.
I've always thought that the Republicans would be the ones who would embrace covering pre-existing conditions just for the entrepreneurial spirit of it. Like right now, if you work for a big company, but you're a Thomas Edison and you have an idea and you want to start your own company, but you have a pre-existing condition and you have a child with one, you're locked into staying with that big company. And the Republicans have traditionally been the small business as a generator of the economy. And so it's really odd to see them in this position of a pro-insurance company fighting the battle to not make insurance companies cover pre-existing conditions.
Right. And there's a thing about, mass. And so, like, if you made health insurance affordable to, 75% of the people that had 2 working households, maybe like they just did minimum wage jobs or whatever kind of jobs, didn't work for a firm that provided it through their salary. If it was affordable to them, they would buy it. And you'd say, like, hey, we've got 3 million customers we never had before. Well, if they're paying $300 a month, that's a lot of money.
Sure.
So I don't know.
You get back to you need the mandate because otherwise people would
not
wait till they're sick. It'd be
Right.
like not getting car insurance until you have a wreck. But Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Now, was that Mike or is this Mike? Mike in South County, how you doing? That was Mike.
was Mike.
My bad.
Okay.
Got some tweets. Here we
Okay.
go.
I'll let you handle all the tweets. Here.
Billy G67. Friends all over the county ask me if I think it's wise for me to go into St. Louis. Perception is reality. People think the city is a war zone. St. Louis is in denial about how it's perceived by outsiders. Politically correct, war zone is one of those things that people talk about. It's a war zone. None of us have ever been to a war zone. Don't ever use that again.
Okay,
Referee 922. You talked about dark money in politics. I am running for a state office and have found it very difficult to raise any money. Dark money needs to go away and have public funding with a reasonable amount or public forums. I got you. Joni, a whole lot of numbers. 820-35791. We need to back Clean Missouri to get rid of lobbyist money. Good for both sides. I agree with that. And McGee 926. Hi, Willie. I think that the boy on the soccer team deserved to be able to join the team if he is good enough to make it, no matter his age. Hashtag Donnybrook STL. Dan Afton, how you doing?
Dan?
Yep. You?
I was an insurance agent for 35 years, and when I sold health insurance, if we brought in a plan that was a association plan, they would laugh us out of the office and say, we don't do, none of the carriers would do association plans. And yet the Republicans and the president are pushing association plans, and that was considered to be the worst type of group that you could possibly imagine, and they would never even think of considering it no matter how much you begged them to look at it.
Help us out here.
I just wanted to...
All right, no, I hear you, but tell us an association plan. Why did you guys say that was bad?
They said it was bad because it had extreme adverse selection.
Okay.
Worse than normal adverse selection, and they were never able to figure out a way around it. And it was a super problem, and as an agent, you just didn't bring them an association plan because they'd just throw it right out, and then there was no, it'd be stupid to bring in another one. And just wanted to make that point.
All right.
Okay. Hey,
thank you
very much for that, Dan.
All right.
It's always good to hear from somebody who's in the business.
Hey, right.
All right.
I did it. 35 years.
Okay. Benjamin from St. Louis.
Yeah. Hi. This is me.
Hi. Go right ahead.
So I'm 14, so I watch a lot of YouTube, and so there's been advertisements popping up about Claire McCaskill zapping 76,000 Missouri jobs by signing on with Clinton and Pelosi. And so I was wondering whether those advertisements can be true and how twisted or how true political advertisements are.
Okay. I'll put it this way to you, Benjamin. I had a Volvo, and I used to drive that Volvo, and if like somebody took an ad out on me, they'd say like Alvin Reid is costing America 720,000 jobs because he drives a foreign car. All right. I'm not picking sides here, but that ad is one of those where you say like, oh yeah, sure. Right. You could say like I'm responsible for this because I did that. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's stretching things. Like if you're in favor of some kind of environmental plan, well, this is going to cost, 10,000 jobs. And, maybe it would cost some jobs and maybe it wouldn't, and maybe some new jobs would come along. But you're very smart, beyond your years, to take all these things with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
Benjamin.
And I'll flip the switch.
It's great. Besides, it's great to have a 14-year-old.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's just
listening to us.
Thank you. Right. We have a future ourselves. All right. It's kind of like if you had a. We out?
Are we out of time?
All right. I kind of got my music in the air. But anyway, if you cut down a tree in your yard, people could say, like, that's ultimately costing the environment. Bill, Alvin, out of here. Thank you. Have a great night.